So, hello, Princess, and thank you for joining me on this episode of Zarah Windy, the podcast from Manila. It's been quite a while since we saw each other last time in Cebu, and I really am excited to have you here since you're also working with cacao, which is one of my main tools, right? Can you tell me a little bit about, first of all, where you're from, a little bit of your background, and then jumping right into how you started working with cacao? Yeah.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me here, Wendy. So yes, I'm Princess. I was born in Surigao, actually. My father's from there, and then my mom brought me to Camotes Island in Cebu. And then when I was 17, I moved to Japan to be with my mom, and then I moved back to the Philippines, like now in Manila, after like few more years in Japan. So yeah, my life is like a multicultural
Yeah, so
experience.
you speak Japanese.
Yes, I do.
Nice, nice. Did you go? So you went to high school there? No, to college
It
or?
was a bridging year for college because you know how how incomplete. Well, we used to have 4 years in high school only in the Philippines, but the education system already changed. So, but when I went there, yeah, I was considered high school, but not really. So that was also part of my learning challenges going there.
So why
Um,
did you leave Japan?
yeah, so I moved to Tokyo, and then I was working part time for an events company, and they happened to organize auditions for Big Brother. And yeah, so
In
I
Japan.
yes, and you know who I auditioned with? It was Paulette. Well,
Paulette was my one of my guests already. I interviewed her. We also have a lot in common with energy healing and plant medicine. So you met Paulette in Japan and auditioned together for Big
yeah.
Brother. Did you guys both get in?
No, so the people in Big Brother loved her, but she couldn't speak and understand Tagalog.
Oh,
And
it was for Big Brother Philippines.
Philippines, yeah.
Ah,
So
okay.
they took me instead, and my life went upside down.
Is that why you moved back to the Philippines?
Yes. So
Okay.
I thought it was just a free flight coming back to Manila, and I'm like, okay, well, it's just a month, why not? But then I had a reverse
Ah,
cultural shock moving back here. I mean, I never lived in Manila before then, right? Cebu is very different from Manila. I mean, you know this of all people. You're
I
from
do. I do know that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, wow. Okay, so I didn't know this backstory. That's really really interesting. So you just stayed on in Manila. Basically, you didn't go back to Japan anymore.
yeah, so I just visited my family, like, moved back and forth. But I basically built, a life here or moved
Yeah,
into
yeah.
society. Yeah. I mean, I tried moving back to Cebu for a few months or a
Is
year, but
that when we met at the Gasho Center?
yeah,
Yes. Yeah, you
that's
did your first level Reiki with me.
yeah.
What year was that?
Oh my gosh, 2000,
17, no? Or
yeah,
2000,
17. Yeah.
2017. Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, now that I'm filling in the gaps. So let's jump forward to cacao because I want to say like Maya Cacao, your cacao is one of my favorites. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of my favorites, and I mean Kim knows that, and I always promote it. I share it with my clients when they ask me. So how did that come to happen?
Yeah, well, thank you so much coming from you. It's really heart opening. It was quite a journey. I studied coffee before cacao, and I wanted to plant coffee in Mindanao because my father's from there. But then I realized that
So you
coffee,
had a sorry, sorry, you had a love of coffee. Like this is something you loved, or something because you had a farm and you had coffee in camotes, or
I
how did you?
studied barista. So it was the time of like third wave or the new wave of
Okay,
coffee in the Philippines, right?
okay, okay,
Circa 2014, 15, something.
okay. So coffee studies. Okay,
Yeah, and so, but like, I think they have a lot in common, like the sensory, the taste, like you always have to smell it first and know where it's coming from and all that.
okay,
And I had no idea about cacao at that time.
right.
And so when I went to Mindanao, I realized that for you to plant good coffee, which is Arabica, you need elevation and like really good condition of the soil and people to look after it. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this or if our land is suited for that. And then I found out that cacao grows pretty much everywhere, especially
In
here.
Mindanao or just anywhere in the Philippines.
Yeah, it doesn't need a high altitude.
Right.
Planted right next to a beach, but
Right,
coffee
right, right.
just
It's
like that.
okay. So it's
Yeah.
easier to grow in the in other words.
Yes, it's easier to grow than coffee.
Okay.
And we grow so many here in the Philippines. In fact, we used to export a lot. And then connecting with my dad's side of the family, I remembered like being with my lola before. She used to like roast her own cacao, grind it, how like the usual story that you hear from
Yes.
everyone from the province, right?
Well, in Visayas and Mindanao, because
Yes,
in Manila, I never heard this.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, it started like opening up a lot of doors for me. And then at this time, I already did my yoga teacher's training. I did Reiki with you, but I wasn't able to join your cacao ceremony yet at that time. I
Okay.
was traveling in and out of Cebu. And when I was in Thailand, I lived there for a little bit. Everyone was crazy about cacao. And I'm like, what is this? Like we don't drink cacao like that. Are you guys like crazy or what? It was like something like everyone was drinking when there's
Right.
ecstatic dance, like
Right.
all the yogi, like community
Community.
into it. And I'm like, wow, there
Yep.
must be
Yep.
something really special, but I didn't
Yeah.
feel that way yet. And so
Yes.
I tried, going to one of the ceremonies, and I'm like, if this is something, that I can bring back to the Philippines
Yeah.
because we grow it and, love it here so
Yep.
much, why not? And I also have a lot of friends who are into sustainable food industry. And apparently in the Philippines, like the tradition of drinking sekwate or the
Yeah.
traditional way of preparing cacao is
Yeah.
dying, like the
Yeah.
young people are into
It's
like,
like the grandparents or right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, I'm really much connected with I grew up with my grandparents and my mom's side in Camotes, right? And so everything traditional, old, and that lola lolo thing is my thing. And so I was like, maybe there's something that I can do with cacao
Yeah.
and the tradition of
Yeah.
preparing cacao in the traditional way,
Yeah.
because apart from like, I mean, outside of Latin America, we're one of the few countries in the world who are still drinking cacao the way they used to drink it
Yeah. Yeah.
before. Like how do we prepare it here? We just cook it with we boil it and then we drink it as is. We don't add anything like crazy into cacao, and it's
Yeah.
sort of like a familial thing, right?
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
go home to Cebu, my family would always prepare sekwate and putumaya for me. They know
Yes.
that's what I want, and then everyone gathers in the table. We talk.
Yeah. It's a ritual in itself, like a family ritual.
So
So when was this trip in Thailand that kind of opened your eyes to ceremonial cacao? What year
I
was this?
went there in 2018.
Okay, so right after your Reiki
Yeah,
level one.
after
Okay.
I touched, yeah, like I did the Reiki training with you, I went back to Thailand and I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, it's just like Wendy was doing it, but I didn't really like care so much. And then now
Right.
everyone here is like
Right. Right.
ceremonies. And then yeah, that time.
Nice. And so then, when did you start with Maya with the brand? How did that whole brand come about?
Hmm. I
First of
was
all, why Maya?
right. Oh my gosh. So okay, before Maya, I was with Kim. We did their first ecstatic dance. It was just
How do
few
you know
months.
Kim?
So I'm friends with Janji,
Okay,
like
okay. So through common friends.
have an eco farm, right? And I told him, Janji, I really want to get into like cacao and
Yeah.
meditation and ecstatic dance, and he was in
Yes.
event. So he was like, "Oh, you should meet Kim." And
Yes.
I know of Divine because of Big Brother, but we
Right.
didn't really like connect, you know,
Right.
much yet. And so when I met Kim, I was like, "Would you like to do like an exploratory ecstatic dance
Yes.
in Asmara?" And so
Yes.
we did it, and it was accepted, really well. And then you
Yes.
guys did it also during
Yes.
your first fest, as you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. And then I moved back to Manila. But I already did like a lot of studying with cacao. I went to Mindanao. I took like a month there. I fell in love with the place and
And
with a
so your
certain
cacao
person.
studies, are you self-taught? How
Um,
did,
there, I met someone who was doing research in cacao
okay.
in Mindanao. And
Okay.
then after that, I went to Thailand again to study like the International Cacao and Chocolate Tasting Institute.
In Thailand.
Yeah, so they were
So,
based in the UK, but they came to Asia for
ah,
training. So yeah,
because does Thailand have a cacao industry like we have?
very new. They have very
Okay,
new
yeah.
cacao
Because
industry.
I went to a cacao farm in Chiang Rai, but I
Mhm.
really like I had never heard about cacao in Thailand previous to that trip. That was in 2019. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was
so
like, oh, you guys have cacao. Okay. Yeah.
he actually helped someone start his cacao farm in Chiang Mai. So
Mm.
a friend of mine who was like helping me study cacao in Mindanao. He's friends with a common friend, and we help them bring cacao to Thailand and plant there because in the Philippines is Criollo. So Criollo is like the creme de la creme of cacao, right? And apparently we still have it here, and everyone just wants to get their hands into this type of cacao. And actually, you the ceremonial cacao has to be Criollo Dao, but to me it's still debatable. Like as long as
So
you
when
know,
you say it has to be, that's according to whom?
according to the people from the land where it's from. So and even so I did a lesson, a class with this lady from Hawaii, and she studied with Keith. I think you also had
Yeah, yeah. I've had ceremonies with Keith. Yeah.
so they do recommend Criollos more because it's like the highest, purest variety of cacao.
Do you mean Keith? So for those who aren't familiar with Keith, the cacao shaman, he is kind of credited with reviving modern cacao ceremonies. Yeah. So they use is Keith's cacao is Criollo.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So because Criollo is still like there's still a lot of Criollos in like Guatemala and in that area, right? The Mayan Aztec area. But here we still have some in Bohol. We do have and some parts of Visayas, but not that much anymore. And so that also complicated my intentions with cacao. And I'm like, I really want to offer it as ceremonial with the intention of like celebrating together in community.
So Maya Cacao is what is it? Is it Criollo? Is it
We have Criollo from Bohol. So when they brought it here, it didn't really survive. So now cacao, you have to graft it. Grafting is like if you have a Criollo, you'll grow it, and then to make it strong, you'll have to breed it with like a Trinitario, which is a crossbreed of Criollo and a Forastero, and then it becomes like a hybrid.
so they're hybrids? Okay, so
Yeah.
we have hybrid. So do you know what Kim is growing? Is it a hybrid? I don't know if you would know. I
I
can
know
ask her.
that we started planting, but to
Yeah.
me, it doesn't really matter
Okay.
because cacao. I also learned this that cacao wants to be spread.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
wants to.
You know, it's so abundant. I was just in Malboal for 4 months, and let me tell you, there's cacao everywhere on the sidewalk. Like it's just like bursting. I'm like, that's cacao, and that's like what? All of
Yeah,
a sudden, there's cacao everywhere.
yeah,
It feels like you're saying it just wants to grow. It's
yeah.
just like bursting to be shared. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
So the tradition in the Philippines before, when we were still under New Spain or like Mexico, people have two or three cacao trees in their backyard. That's why we still see them everywhere, but we're not
Wow.
like taking care of it anymore. But
Yeah.
before,
But
like
they're
the
growing wild.
exactly, like you just spit, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, they're growing wild. Yeah.
it will just grow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Maya.
Yeah, Maya, you didn't answer the question.
Yeah, so
Maya?
I was so confused, Wendy, because I'm like, I love cacao. I want to do ceremonial cacao. We're so abundant, but there's so many rules. There's like bean to bar and artisan chocolate. How do I compete? And I'm a Capricorn sun and rising. So my mind is always like, Princess, if you're gonna do something, it has to be the best version of whatever. And so I was so scared to start it, and then I was here in Manila already. I was showering. I'm like, I really don't know what to do. Do I do this or not? And then wow, I saw, like, I was showering, and then I saw a bird, and the common birds here in the Philippines. It's
Like a
Maya.
sparrow? Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it
Oh.
used to be our, like our national bird, but now it's the Philippine eagle because Mayas are actually weak because they cannot be alone. They always have to be in flocks or like at least two. So, and what came to me was that I can't, do it alone, and I have to do it in a ceremonial way to share it with people. And like birds always have to be in groups. And I'm like, okay, that's it, Maya. I didn't even think that, it would be challenging for me to call it Maya because cacao is from the Mayans, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had no idea that it was referring to the Philippine bird. I really thought it was Maya, like the Maya, like the
no, I wasn't
Mesoamerican.
even there. But then I was like, but then the bird came to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so when was Maya born? What year is this now?
2019. So
2019.
I went to Mindanao again to join they have this cacao connect, which basically all the cacao producers and growers in the country go to Davao and have this. It's like Salon de Chocolat,
Yeah,
in
in
France.
Davao, yeah.
Yeah, so I braved myself to go there and ask if they are open for me doing a cacao ceremony or just an invocation.
Yeah,
It's really like a businessman's, gathering,
yeah,
right? People go there to sell cacao and talk about how they can grow their business. And I'm like,
yeah.
well, let's do. And they were open to it. And so
Oh, amazing.
yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh. And they're all like all the old school people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
How
they
did they respond?
I think they liked it.
Yeah,
People didn't have that spiritual. I guess they do, but they're not open to that spiritual connection with the cacao,
with
right?
cacao. No, 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 not
But
at
a
all.
lot of my
Oh,
friends
I
who
love that.
grow their business and their fortune from cacao, they really say that they believe in the cacao fairy. They always ask for, what they want,
I
and
love that.
fairy really gives it to them.
I love it.
We share the same
Maria Cacao. She's from
spirit.
Cebu.
Exactly. And so after that cacao conference, I went around Mindanao again. And I'm telling you, Wendy, so cacao is healing, but you can't over drink it also or over consume it because you will have a healing crisis. You will overheat. And that basically happened to me
Oh, you were over consuming?
because they made me a judge.
Yeah.
So they had a sequate competition, and
Yeah.
I had to taste
Ah, you had to
80
taste.
sequates
Oh my gosh.
and using sugar
Oh my
also, which was
gosh.
white sugar, and I don't take white sugar myself
Oh, you couldn't have it without the sugar?
because they have a certain recipe that everyone has to
Ah, has to
follow.
respect. Okay. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
and after that, I had
Wow.
fever,
Overdose. Yeah, overdose.
but it
Oh my
was also
goodness.
really like. I mean, I won't say nice, but it was an experience, and there was like a message there. I was like, okay, what do you want from me? How can I serve you? Where are we going? Where are you taking me? And from then on, I just went ahead and yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so happy that I'm learning this story. I had no idea. This whole backstory is amazing to me. Yeah, I'm so grateful that you did follow spirit and the bird came to you and now we're having this amazing chocolate. And my question now is I have a lot of clients overseas and they don't have they're not blessed like we are with abundant cacao, growing in every street corner. So is it possible to send them cacao from
Yeah,
here?
I've been sending, wow, the internet, the age of Aquarius is
Yeah.
just wow. I mean, I'm a little bit still not, you know, there yet, but I've met so many people online and I'm sending to Singapore. There's a lady who uses Maya Cacao for her ceremony.
Singapore.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, my friend in Switzerland started making her own, but she couldn't get Filipino cacao, so she's just buying beans from Peru, I think. So I'm trying to see if I can send
Yeah.
some Filipino cacao.
If we had a way to have Filipino cacao, yeah, in Switzerland, France, that would be amazing. Like there's a big market there. Let me just
Really,
say.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I think that big companies are doing it, like the serious chocolate companies are doing it,
The
but
bigger ones, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But
they
I
sell.
mean, look at Keith. Keith sends cacao all over the planet, right? Like, yeah. So my friend in France, my clients in France and US get from Keith's. So I'm thinking, why can't they also get from us, right? Or from you or whatever. Yeah. So hopefully that'll happen soon. It'll be easy to just,
That's the dream.
yeah, that would be, we'll just put it out there. Yeah. Ah, amazing. So are
Cacao.
you are you able to have cacao ceremonies at the moment? Or is that something that you enjoy doing or you're more like on the business of supplying and
To be honest, I did not want to do retail because I had a business before and it broke my heart. I couldn't do anything for 2 years. When someone tells me about like doing a business again, I would just like no. But then cacao again, heart opener. Hello.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was doing a lot of ceremonies here before COVID. I met a
Work
lot
of it.
of artists who are, was willing to share it. And every time we have a ceremony, people would ask, like, okay, so how do we get cacao? Like, do we
Yeah.
just drink Milo or
Ugh.
Swiss Miss?
Please no, please.
Yeah. And I said, no, it has to be this certain type
Yeah.
and 100%. And so that gave me because I met all the farmers already. And I was like, okay, why not? Maybe it's time to reconnect with them. And it was actually with Kim and Sefri that I asked which origin should I take because I had like final three farms that I wanted to work with. But myself, I was leaning to the Davao de Oro, which is Compostela Valley. And when I shared it with them, I didn't even tell them where it was
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
Origins, they also liked it. And so I said, okay, this is then my first origin. But now I'm working with Davao de Oro, Bohol, and I'm trying to see if I can get from Ilocos because my best friend, like she's been staying there for a while, and they also have cacao. But
Do
it's
they
not.
have cacao in camotes?
Yes, but not so much.
Not so much. Yeah, yeah.
I think people there are too relaxed. They fish and they grow kamote or cassava, which just grows. It doesn't need tending.
Okay.
It needs more love and attention.
Right, right, right. Can people order from you, or is it better to order from? I usually just direct them to Salty.
Yeah. So yes, Kim, Salty, they have their own blends also
Yeah,
that I made. So I blend the cacao as well. But
yeah.
right now, because I'm transitioning and moving places, so we just have our 100% drinking cacao. So
Okay,
I send to Salty also, and then we have in our own platform on Instagram, which is we
okay.
sell through Mata Philippines. It's another e-commerce platform, and yeah, you guys can check it out. slowly growing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely include that in the notes so people can get in touch and hopefully taste your cacao. Yeah, whether they're here in the Philippines or outside. Yeah.
But
So
any no,
yeah,
it's great. In the Philippines, we have I mean, if I didn't start Maya myself, like as a brand, I get a lot of samples also from different farmers, different makers, and they're like, "Oh, can you try my cacao and give me a feedback?" And I'm like, "I can also do this as a job." But then I
yeah.
started like, I launched Maya already, so I still get gifts from here and there. It's beautiful, Wendy. There's so many different tastes, different profiles,
I know.
different
I was like,
stories.
they're all so different. They're all so different. There was I don't know if you were here when there was a time when Shangri-La had a cacao flight where there's like 8 different cacaos and they're all so different. You get to taste test, like a blind taste test, and they have some cacao plants over there. It's really nice, and I'm really sad they shut that down with the lockdowns and all that.
But
But
hey, we can do something like a cacao festival or something like that,
well,
and share.
that's in the works, and hopefully you can be part of that because you're part of the cacao scene now and in the Philippines. All
Great.
right. Well, thank you so much again for your time and telling us the story of Maya Cacao. Again, one of my favorite cacaos here in the Philippines. And hopefully we'll collaborate soon. All
Thanks, Wendy.
right. Thanks, Princess. Take care.